Ladies and gentlemen, probably mostly gentlemen. Actually, I know for a fact it's mostly gentlemen. Thank you, YouTube algorithms. Welcome to another gear overview thing. I'm your host, the Disembodied Hands, formerly known as Airsoft Gus, and today we're looking at my belt setup. Belt setups in Airsoft are pretty close to what you might need for a real steel scenario. So a lot of the rules or a lot of the lessons that I've learned building this kit, I've learned from real steel shooters and their understanding of what a belt needs to do. So I want to break it down, sort of moving from in to out. So the belt itself is a Ferro Concepts Bison Belt. Snagged this on Tac Market Europe for a pretty good price. It's like new condition when I got it, but this belt is the tits with fries. It's an amazing belt. It really works. One of the things I love about it is the rigidity of it. Like, the belt will hold itself up completely without aid, so it's super rigid because of this plastiliner they have inside, and that's exactly what you need from a combat belt. When you start hanging gear on it, you want it to keep itself up. That's one thing I noticed a lot of airsofters don't understand. They'll often use large padded belts, which they stuff full of gear, which they then put harnesses on and shit to keep it from falling down. When in the end, you can save yourself a lot of hassle and a lot of headaches by just getting a good traditional gunfighter style belt like this one. The Ferro Concepts Bison Belt is a bit on the pricey end when it comes to combat belts, but my understanding of gear is buy once, cry once, and I haven't even cried once with this belt. But it comes like you see it here, just the belt, obviously, none of the add-ons, and then you get an inner belt as well. I've seen a lot of inner belts. Let's actually just highlight that for a sec. I've seen a lot of inner belts designs. I think I've used a total of 7 or 8 different combat belts in my 6 years of playing. And I've seen a lot of inner belts in that time, and I think this is probably the best inner belt I've ever seen. Actually, I'd say that the price tag for the Bison Belt is worth it almost just because of the inner belt. Luckily, you won't have to make that compromise because the Bison Belt is an amazing belt, but we'll go into why. But the inner belt is super thin, and that's really what you want from an inner belt. You want it to be as low profile as possible while still being as adjustable as possible, and the Bison Belt nails this by using this Ferro Concepts G-hook system. So you have 2 stretching points, one for the fatties, one for the skinnies. I'm built like Gumbo, so I need the skinny one. And you just hook it in like that. And that's your, I need to take this belt on or off hook. That's just how you do it here. So the actual length of the belt is always the same, no matter what. And then the actual adjustment of the belt is done through this Velcro tab right here. So you just adjust it however you want, like that, and then you just wear it on your uniform as your normal belt. This is just an amazing inner belt design. And the fact that Chinese companies haven't cloned this yet is beyond me, because this is probably the best inner belt design I've ever experienced. Moving on to the actual outer belt. Starting from the front, it uses a small D-type or DR-type Cobra buckle. I really don't think you need the big C-types for a lot of belts. They get very bulky, they get in the way, sometimes they cut up your delicate areas. So I really like the small D-type. It also has a fastening hook here, so if you do actually need to do anything that requires more set lines, let's say you have a ripcord or something you want, you can actually hook it into here and it'll be secure. The belt isn't helo rated, so I would not put a helo strap in this. Not that you'd ever need to do that in Airsoft. It's like 0.1% of Airsofters that ever actually need to do helo stuff. But if you do this, this is a professional duty belt, so if you are a professional duty kind of guy and you bewilderingly stumbled onto this thing, it's not helo rated. I'm sure it could hold up to it, but you know, if you fall out of a chopper, you can't get money for it. So moving on down the belt, how I have it set up is very dependent on what I need. And I think this is something that airsofters have a tendency to miss out on a lot. They don't analyze what they actually need. They put on whatever shit TMC is selling. And I see one thing that a lot of people do is a retention lanyard for helo operations. And again, 0.1% of airsofters ever actually need to be in a helo. And anybody who actually wears a helo for work would take that helo actually presenting itself. If they're not doing shit in a helo, they wouldn't wear it, because it's a giant loop of tug ready cord that is just hanging from your abdomen that at any point could snag or get caught or just get in the way. So I wouldn't wear it, never will, and you shouldn't either. So moving actually down to what I have on the belt, I have an S-Tac Kiwi, double pistol with webbing, with gap. Kiwi, you've got to start naming your products more. Like this could just be called the Odin or whatever. But I use 2 pistol mags and a webbed M4 mag. The Kiwis from S-Tac are incredible. They're probably the best pockets I've ever had, especially their belt line is amazing. I've had a placard from S-Tac for my plate carrier. I loved it to bits, but I decided to go flatter. You'll see that in my other video about my plate carrier. But I really love the S-Tac pockets for belt usage. And how I have it set up right now is how I would usually run it in field, with 1 pistol magazine, multi-tool of some kind, and an M4 pouch. And then in these webbings, I would usually hang like a carabiner or something with pull tabs for, could be glow sticks, or if I ever need to go to a dank ass rave, I'm ready to go. Usually I like to keep this set up with pistol and utility, because pistol to me is like what, a tertiary weapon system or something stupid like that, and I find myself reaching for a multi-tool a lot more than I find myself reaching for a 3rd pistol mag. So 1 pistol mag, multi-tool, and then M4 mag for quick reloads, and I think that's all the ammo you need on your belt, to be honest, because I've got this mag, 1 in the Glock, and then I could always stuff something in my vest. But again, when are you realistically using 3 pistol mags? Your pistol main, sure, but then you're not wearing a setup like this. You got something to carry more pistol mags on your chest. Anyway, moving on further down, I have the Tardigard Systems, Tardigard Tactical Systems lightweight dump pouch. This is a Danish company that makes pretty high quality nylon gear. It's a rollout dump pouch like you've seen before. I just, support locally, obviously buy from local shops and stimulate your local economy. This did everything I need from a dump pouch, and it's a local company, so I decided to buy it. Made in Denmark. It has some molly webbing on the inside. So if you actually do want to attach some sort of internal pockets, could be for admin, could be just an extra mag or something like that, you can attach it through these molly lines. I haven't done that yet, but some high-speed guys do. Because a dump pouch is not necessarily just a dump pouch for empty magazines. I keep my Nalgene bottle in here, soda bottles, admin shit like a pen or something, I keep it in here. Nice mesh on the bottom, so if you do actually spill any of your water, for example, it just runs out the bottom. Really, really nice dump pouch with the ability to be singed down completely in case you actually need to carry something valuable that can't fall out of the pocket. You can singe it down, and it does scrunch up pretty easily and just locks in place in case you don't need it hanging out. Moving on further down the belt, I have a Helicon Tex Navtel pouch in Coyote, which has seen some dirt. That's why it's so dark at this point, but I have it mounted vertically. This is my sort of emergency GP pouch for my belt line. It has a nice little elastic on the inside, so sometimes I like to put my phone in there if I know I'm not going to be laying down or sitting down. That's rare though, so I usually just keep this as a nice and flat pouch for whatever I might need to carry in an emergency. It could be a spare mag, could be a buddy mag that someone tossed. I could have found something out on the range and someone dropped it, I put it in there. So it's just like a nice little GP pouch. Quick lesson about the back of your belt. You want to keep it as flat as possible, just because it's easier to maneuver with, and if you ever actually do need to sit down or get in a vehicle or something, it can kind of mess up your lower back if this is bulging out too much. So I like to keep it nice and flat. I've actually considered ditching this and just running a completely slick belt, but I find myself using this more often than I care to like, so I do keep it on there. Moving on to my holster setup, I'm using a Safariland 6054 ALS, or whatever the fuck it's called. Safariland really needs to get better with their holsters. Originally came in black. I painted it Ranger green with some scale camera or whatever just to make it blend in more with the rest of the kit. It's attached to a Safariland mid-ride and UBL system. The UBL system is this quick detach system, so I can switch holsters quickly. This works out relatively well for me because I do have multiple pistols that I like to switch between, and this is my Glock 17 with a X300 light bearing, which is my preferred sidearm. And I printed a thumb knob to help me release the actual pistol. This is a fantastic holster. It's the best holster I've ever used. It's probably a lot smarter and cooler people than me say that this is the best duty holster that you can find. And from what I've experienced, I'd agree with them. It's a fantastic holster, really easy to draw, really easy to pull, consistent, secure, everything you need in a holster. I would recommend printing a thumb knob or buying a thumb knob for it because the thumb can be pretty superficial if you're wearing gloves. So having that extra leverage on it really helps you exit the gun out. Running a thigh strap with it, I think this is from Bjorn Tactical, another Danish company. I don't like it quite that much because it's got that puke colored coyote originally. That's the original color and I painted it. Some of you have been asking what I am doing with the stripes on my holster. This is because multiple people from my team are starting to use these holsters and they're actually getting quite common in the Airsoft game because they're not that expensive used. So I've striped mine so I could always tell which one is which. It's quite nice because everybody uses a Glock, so you can't really tell by the pistol that's in it. So just by this, if it's on the table, I can quickly see, okay, that's my holster and I can grab it. So it's purely for identification and it doesn't break up the actual camouflaging pattern. Moving on down, this is sort of my emergency admin side. So I have a T-Rex arms, tourniquet holster, and multicam that I've mounted upside down. Usually it would be dangling off the bottom here. I didn't like that quite as much because it sort of felt like wasted real estate. So I mounted it upside down and took these bungees and secured it that way. It still allows me to pull out this tourniquet really easily, but it doesn't get in the way, which allows me to use the space for an admin hook. Just to, as an example, I've attached a pair of gloves to this, but you could attach anything. It's an admin hook. So sometimes I have chem sticks in this, but more often than not, I like to keep my gloves here because I never like to put my gloves down. That's how you lose your gloves. So having an admin hook with that is pretty key and essential. Gloves themselves are mechanics gloves. I've been through a lot of gloves. I'd say mechanics are the best for the money, unless you're willing to spend a lot of money. Like if you're in the price range of mechanics, they're the best you can get. If you're willing to spend the money on pig gloves or some sort of super high speed Delta glove, obviously I think you get your money's worth for that. But considering how fast I go through gloves, I'm really not feeling like paying a lot for them. So mechanics do the trick for me. And because I'm a wimp who just does this for fun, I'm never deployed for several months at a time, so I don't really need gloves that can last me for several months at a time. If my mechanic gloves breaks, it's like half the day at worst is kind of meh, and then I could go and buy a new pair and be ready for the next day. So it doesn't really bother me that much. That's why I use mechanics. So that's the belt setup. I don't really have much to it. This is a setup that's sort of been developed through years and years of use of different belt types. This is the most modern, most high-speed setup that I have come across. Not that I've come across, but the stuff that I've used. I really like it a lot. It's super low profile. And I've went from everywhere from the large padded battle belts that I talked about earlier to sort of different variations on the Gunfighter belt. And this I feel is the final version of where I need to be belt-wise. So this belt will last me until some new innovative technology comes along that makes this belt obsolete. But the Ferro Concepts Bison Belt as a base, and then with all these sort of high-end pockets around it, it really just works. It's a nice minimalist setup. It does exactly what I need, nothing more than that, which means it doesn't get in the way of that. But again, because the Ferro Concepts is such a great base, I can put whatever on this that I need for a mission set and still be fully operational. So I really enjoy this belt. I've had zero issues with it. And this is the setup. This is how I run it. If you have any questions to this, or if you want to know anything more about my experiences, leave them in the comments, obviously. But this belt, it just works. This setup works. So if you want to copy it, feel free. This is not an original setup. I think the setup is pretty much the kind of setup or very, very close to whatever you'd see on a person who takes themselves seriously and do cool things for a living. So enjoy. That's it. See ya.